Hello, hello. Welcome to Craft Room Tarot. My name is Jessie B. I'm a longtime witch and tarot reader from Ohio. Today we're going to be doing a current energy check-in and forecast for the week of July 27th, 2026, using the Ethereal Visions Tarot by Matt Hughes, and this is the Luna edition. I will be doing a 4-card tarot reading for fire, earth, air, and water signs today. And I will have timestamps in the description so you can find your reading. And I do also encourage you to listen to your sun sign and your rising sign. That'll give you the most clear version of what will happen this week. I will encourage you to take a deep breath into your belly and hold it. And exhale. And one more time, go ahead and take one more deep breath. And exhale. We want to feel centered in our bodies. I also encourage you to put your feet on the floor or on the ground. Because this is a collective reading, I like to think that the energy will wash over us. Whatever is meant for us will hold on, and whatever is not will go ahead and flow through us and back to the earth. Fire signs, here is your reading. So first I will be pulling a card for our current energy and a second for our perception of the week. So for our current energy is the 3 of Cups. And our perception of the week is 10 of Swords. Okay, so our current energy, 3 of Cups that we do love to see. The 3 of Cups is a beautiful flowing of energy between you and your peers, you and your friends. It may even be people that you do not have a lot of experience with, but that things just naturally flow together. I would say here it is a sign to fill your cup in the mundane parts of your life and to be finding joy in day-to-day activities. It's overall a card of lifting the spirits and joy. However, our perception of the week may be one of feeling over it, maybe one of feeling like too many things have not been going your way, and an overall feeling of just kind of being incredulous to the situation. There is almost a feeling of going into the week really optimistic about what's going to be able to happen. And there will be a lot of energy this week. There's a full moon in Aquarius, the nodes are shifting, Jupiter is meeting up with the sun, so there is a lot of energy this week. With this 3 of Cups, we might be really excited to move forward on our path and be excited to really get the ball rolling on a lot of projects. And I'm curious to see what our guidance cards will say. All right, so for our third card, I like to do outer guidance, and that is Divine Spirit, Universe, reflection of archetypal images, however you like to see that. And then our fourth will be inner guidance, and so that is your personal knowledge, wisdom, and skills. Help us navigate this week successfully. Okay, so for our outer guidance, we have the Ace of Swords. And this is a beautiful card of like a light bulb moment, a great new idea that you just want to grasp onto and get going with. And I'm going to pull the inner guidance real fast. So for our inner guidance, the King of Pentacles. So really being sure to be confident in our next steps and how it's going to affect ourselves and the people around us. And really being able to use your own knowledge and wisdom to propel yourself forward. I am also struck that we have here in our outer guidance an ace card. So again, a very light bulb, have to grab onto it moment. And for our inner guidance, we have a very confident, independent, practical card. So our current energy, being this Three of Cups, kind of also tells me that we may be more inclined to go towards the emotional side of this, which may leave our perception as being not so hot. Okay, so really being able to balance, I would say, lunar and solar energy. Okay, we also have to have a give and take here. We have to be active, we have to rest. Okay, we have to make sure we're nourishing ourselves, our bodies this week in order to maybe have a less harsh perception at the end of the week. Okay? And that feels complete there. So that will be it for the fire signs. Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Thanks for spending time with me today. Follow me on IG at Craftroom Tarot. And if you are interested in a more in-depth or personal tarot reading, check out my website. It's stan.store/JessB with 3 E's. I have personal readings as well as collective and personal spell work. We are going to go ahead and move into our earth signs, and that is Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Okay, earth signs. This is for Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. We are going to go ahead and pull a card for our current energy as well as our perception of the week. Okay, and for our current energy is the Knight of Wands. I always feel like the Knight of Wands is very do it for the plot energy. That's a little bit of our current energy, and then our perception of the week, we will have the Seven of Swords. So our Knight of Wands makes a lot of sense this week. We are in Leo season, there's a lot of fire energy, and we also have Jupiter meeting up with the Sun, really amplifying a lot of that energy this week too. So we might have maybe a lot more get up and go energy happening for us this week. We might feel inspired to take action, either out in the world or on some projects. And that can lead us into a little bit of overdrive and getting a little bit overwhelmed. So we do have to make sure we try and temper a little bit of that energy. We'll get more into that with the guidance, but it is something to note. And then for our perception of the week, we have the Seven of Swords. And overall, this gives a feeling of having a lot of thoughts and ideas and inspiration and maybe not knowing what to do with it all. And that could stem from a little bit of inexperience in an area, or possibly getting kind of caught up in the moment so that you're not connected with your higher self or your wise mind. And that could lead to a little bit of maybe being embarrassed by our own actions, kind of wanting to be like, oops, and hide away from something that maybe we aren't the most proud of. And as earth signs, that's something that can make us deeply uncomfortable. And that's not the type of perception we want to have for the week. So we really want to make sure we are mindful about what we are doing with all of our thoughts and ideas. Okay? Now let's go ahead and look for our outer guidance and inner guidance. And our outer guidance is what I like to refer to as divine, spirit, universe, or the reflection of archetypal images, however you like to see that. And then our inner guidance is our own wisdom, knowledge, and skills. Okay, for our outer guidance, we have Four of Cups. And our inner guidance, we have Seven of Cups. And that's very interesting because here our current energy is Wands, so this is fire. And our perception of the week is Swords, which is air. And then all of our guidance is cups of water, of emotion and flowing and intuition. So overall, Earth signs, you may be feeling a little bit out of your element this week. And you really may want to kind of check in with maybe some of your favorite grounding exercises. Make sure to get outside as is available to you. You know, take a walk, get your feet in the dirt, however that applies to you. Okay, so for our outer guidance being the Four of Cups, here we can see our person at the tree is focused on the cups he already has. And you can see what he's being offered. Is he too distracted by what's in front of him to notice what's being offered? Or is he happy with what he has so that he doesn't need what's being offered? And I think that will be something really important to consider this week. Sometimes a new opportunity seems too good to pass up, and you kind of almost get into this space of feeling like you do need to just do it because it's there, or doing it for the plot, okay? And then the Seven of Cups being in our inner guidance, telling us to focus on our own knowledge, wisdom, and skills, is really telling us to take a careful look at our choices and what's available in front of us before we make those choices. So really be careful in considering if this is something you need or if you're just doing it to do it. Okay, because when we take on too much, it can leave us having a perception of either taking on too much and not knowing what to do with it, and sometimes having that overwhelm lead us to be not happy with the choices that we've had to make in the moment. Okay? So I would really say overall, really use your discernment this week and make the best possible choices for you in the situation so that you're happy with the choices you've made going forward. It may be a comfortable thing to settle into the fun of the moment, but you do want to be considering future you this week. Okay? Okay, so that message feels complete, and I'm going to wrap up that for the Earth signs, and that was for Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Thank you for spending time with me today. Follow me on IG at Craftroom Tarot, and check out my store at stan.store/JessB with 3 E's for personal readings as well as collective and personal spell work. See you next time. Okay, we are ready for air signs, and that is Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. I will encourage you to take a deep breath and exhale. One more deep breath. And exhale to feel centered. And then I also encourage you to put your feet on the ground or on the floor Because this is a collective message, I like to believe that the energy is going to wash over us. Whatever is meant for us is going to go ahead and hold on. And whatever isn't will go ahead and flow right back into the earth. Okay, air signs. I'm going to go ahead and start by pulling a card for our current energy and then one for our perception of the week. Our current energy is the world. And our perception of the week, air signs, is the Queen of Pentacles. Air signs, I am smiling for you. So our current energy, being the world, is one of feeling complete in a situation or a cycle. This is the last card of our major arcana, so you might be completing something this week. And now is the time to sit back and kind of look at everything that you've been able to complete during this time. And having the Queen of Pentacles as our perception of the week is one of having everything you need, feeling resourced, being able to take care of yourself and the people around you, one of comfort. However, also one of having a lot of responsibility on your shoulders. And I really noticed that Our Lady of the World and our Queen here are by themselves. So you may be feeling a little bit, maybe wondering where your village is this week, even though these are beautiful cards. So let's go ahead and see what our guidance is. I like to pull one for outer guidance, which is divine, spirit, or universe, possibly the reflection of archetypal images, however you see it. And then I also am going to pull one for inner guidance. So that is our own personal knowledge, wisdom, and skills that can help us navigate success this week. Okay, for our outer guidance, we have the High Priestess. Wow, okay. Wow, air signs. And then for our inner guidance, we have the Page of Wands, which I also love. Okay. So for our outer guidance is the High Priestess. The High Priestess is very comfortable in the liminal space between the mundane and the magical. And being able to hold time in that space and working through any discomfort it can bring in order to get the knowledge that you need. So our outer guidance may be connecting to that liminal space, being open to intuition, being able to discern when you are receiving a message that is meant for you. And I'm also getting holding yourself to a higher standard almost. Okay, and then our inner guidance is the Page of Wands, and I love page energy. Some people can think the pages can be a little bit naive, which perhaps in their shadow is true. However, pages have a curiosity and an interest in learning and studying and growing and finding out new things and being excited for new possibilities. And tapping into that young, curious, driven energy, I think especially in this context, can kind of help us from getting a little bit too serious in this situation. Because all of our cards here are amazing, resourced, intuitive, being able to revel in kind of the comfort that we have. And this page here also tells us to be able to laugh and have fun and find joy in what we're doing. So maybe not to take all of it quite so seriously this week. And that message really feels complete there. Thank you for spending time with me today, air signs. And follow me on IG at Craft Room Tarot. Check out my store at stan.store/JessB with 3 E's. And you can check out my personal readings as well as collective and personal spell work. Have a beautiful week. Okay, for our water signs, and that is Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. I encourage you to take a deep breath and exhale. And one more deep breath and exhale. We want to feel centered in our bodies. And then I also encourage you to go ahead and have your feet on the floor. Because this is a collective message, I like to believe that the energy is going to wash over us. Whatever is meant for us will go ahead and hold on, and whatever is not will flow back into the earth. Okay, water signs. So first, I am going to go ahead and pull a card for our current energy and then one for our perception of the week. Okay, and for our current energy, I have Temperance. Gorgeous. And our perception of the week is the Two of Cups. I love that for our water signs. Okay, so for Temperance being our current energy, here Our Lady is balancing or tempering kind of the mystical and the mundane, the spiritual and the earthly matters. And when you are tempering something, you need to bring in a little bit at a time. You're getting things used to each other this week before we kind of mix everything all in. It is one of finding balance. It's one of being connected spiritually and being grounded here on the earth. And our perception of the week being Two of Cups feels to me as though we are bringing emotions, intuition, flowing energy together. So it also shows me a meeting of our goals this week and almost a feeling of things really just working out nicely for us. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull one card for outer guidance. So that can be divine, spirit, the universe, a reflection of archetypal images, however that suits you. And then I'll pull one for inner guidance, and that's our own personal knowledge, wisdom, and skills. Okay, so for outer guidance, we have the Eight of Cups. And in that Eight of Cups, we have a full moon, which we do have a full moon upcoming this week. And full moons can be known for illuminating what is hiding in the shadows, maybe things that we haven't seen or perceived, but it can also distort. And the Eight of Cups is a walking away from someone or something that no longer serves us. So that might be illuminated this week. Let's look for our inner guidance. And that is the Page of Swords, and I do love Page energy. Page energy is curious and studious and excited to learn, excited to present new ideas and let those ideas lead them, and being almost unafraid of what comes next. So maybe thinking about times in your life where you had an idea and were able to learn a new skill, or were able to integrate a new idea into a project, or you were able to grasp a new idea or concept really easily and let it lead you into something successful. So being able to reflect on that and being able to use those skills that you've learned in new ways may really benefit you this week. So here I really want to say we're going to have to balance. Letting go of things that no longer serve us. and chasing those new ideas and new concepts and new skills. And by being able to balance these two things, we're going to be able to have a new perception, maybe a new beneficial relationship in our life. But being able to have that overall sense of balance and tempering and kind of coming together is what's going to benefit us this week. And that feels really complete. Okay, so I will wrap up today's reading. Thank you for spending time with me today. Go ahead and follow me on IG at Craftroom Tarot and check out my store at stan.store/JessB with 3 E's. You can check out my personal readings as well as collective and personal spell work. And I'll see you soon.